My sister is currently on vacation with friends, completely oblivious to the storm she's caused in my life. She's involved with a married man, and I just got beaten up because of her. I have no idea where she is, but when I finally see her, I swear I'm going to pull her hair out. It's not the first time her actions have led to chaos in my life, but this time it feels particularly unforgivable. We're 3 years apart and attend the same university. People often mistake us for twins due to our almost identical looks, which has its ups and downs. Sure, I love the bond we share, but today I faced the darker side of that resemblance. As I left the campus to head to my car, I felt a strange mix of anxiety and anticipation. It was one of those days where everything felt off kilter, but I couldn't quite put my finger on why. Maybe it was the lingering guilt of not speaking to my sister about her relationship with this married man. I had noticed the red flags, a significant age gap, the secrecy, the flashy gifts she'd show off from him. Yet, I never confronted her. I kept hoping she would come to her senses, but today was a painful reminder that I had to address this issue before it spiraled further out of control. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a woman lunged at me. She threw herself on me, grabbing my hair and dragging me around while hurling a barrage of insults. I was caught completely off guard, and in sheer instinct, I fought back. Honestly, I thought I was being attacked by someone having a manic episode. Adrenaline kicked in as I yanked at her hair, fueled by confusion and anger. It wasn't until my friend intervened, pulling her off me, that I began to comprehend the situation. The woman was sobbing, and behind her stood 2 other women who were also yelling, now directing their anger at my friend. "You're the one. You're her husband's little S**T." The woman screamed at me. The insults hurt, but more than that, they confused me. I had no idea what was happening. At that moment, my mind clicked. I remembered my sister's boyfriend and the rumors swirling around campus. "Look," I said, trying to calm the situation. "I think you're looking for my sister." It was then that the other women chimed in, insisting that I must be just as lucky as my sister. I bristled at their words, about to snap back when the police arrived. The chaos was overwhelming. My scalp was sore from where she'd pulled my hair, my back scraped against the asphalt during the scuffle, and my pride felt even worse. My sister didn't answer any of my calls, and I knew that if I told our parents about this, they might cut off her funding for school. This was not the first time she'd done something reckless, and the thought of being caught in the crossfire again filled me with dread. I was humiliated, having been attacked at university for something I didn't even do. I dreaded returning on Monday and facing classmates who might think I was to blame when it was her who had caused this mess. The woman had taken her anger out on the wrong person, and now I was left to deal with the aftermath. In the end, we ended up at the police station, where I filed charges against her attacker. Even though she apologized profusely once she calmed down a little, her friends were even worse. They egged her on, fueling the chaos that ensued after the initial altercation. Their behavior didn't justify the assault, but it did add a layer of complexity to the situation. I can't believe this is happening, I thought, my head spinning from the events of the day. How did I get dragged into this? I needed answers, and I had to confront my sister about all of this when she returned. I was determined to wait until she got back to confront her. I wanted her to take responsibility for what she had done. I wanted her to face the music in front of our parents, so she couldn't run away from the consequences. After all, she was nearly 30, and it was high time she learned that her choices had repercussions. When my sister finally returned from her vacation a few days later, I was already at our parents' house, waiting for her. When she walked in, I could tell she was in high spirits, blissfully unaware of the chaos she'd left behind. Our parents, curious about my bruises and scratches, questioned me about what had happened. "Just wait until your sister gets here," I said, deliberately keeping my tone even. I wanted her to be the one to explain herself, to come clean about the mess she had created. As soon as she arrived, my sister seemed relaxed, her carefree demeanor a stark contrast to the anger brewing inside me. I watched her, arms crossed, waiting for the moment our parents pressed her for the truth. "I can't believe you let this happen," I thought to myself. "You're nearly 30 years old. It's time you took responsibility for your actions." After a few awkward moments of small talk, our parents turned to her and asked, "What happened to your sister? Why is she all beat up?" I leaned back, letting the tension build as I watched my sister's expression shift from confusion to realization. She knew I had been waiting to confront her. I kept quiet, letting her stew in her guilt while our parents exchanged worried glances. Finally, my sister spoke up, her voice shaky. I may have gotten involved with someone." "Someone?" I interjected, feeling my blood boil. "You mean a married man?" She flinched at my words, and I saw the color drain from her face. "It's not what you think," she exclaimed, her voice rising defensively. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen." The anger I'd been holding back erupted. "You've been flaunting your relationship with this man, showing off all the gifts he gives you, while I'm the one getting attacked for it. Do you think it's okay to date someone who is married? Do you even care about the consequences of your actions?" She opened her mouth to respond, but I could see she was at a loss for words. My parents watched, stunned by the family drama unfolding in front of them. I thought he was different," she finally said, her voice small. "I didn't mean for this to get out of hand." "You thought he was different?" I repeated incredulously. "He's a married man. Do you not understand how that affects others?" My sister was silent, her gaze dropping to the floor. I could feel the weight of the moment hanging heavy in the air. It was a painful reckoning, one I had anticipated, but it didn't make it any easier. Eventually, she spoke again. "I didn't know he was married when I started dating him. I thought he was single. And when I found out, it was too late. I was already involved." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. "How many times have you been in situations like this? This isn't the first time you've messed with someone who was off limits." With every word, I felt the anger bubbling beneath the surface. It wasn't just about her choices, it was about the fact that I had to pay the price for her recklessness. The conversation eventually shifted back to the attack outside the university, and I told our parents everything. They listened, expressions of disbelief and concern etched on their faces. "Why didn't you call us sooner?" my mother asked, her voice trembling with worry. "Because I wanted to confront her first," I said, gesturing toward my sister. "She needs to take responsibility for her actions." The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. I could see my sister processing everything, the realization of the pain she had caused washing over her. Days passed, and the fallout from the incident continued to loom over us. I had filed charges against the woman who attacked me, and while it felt good to take a stand, I couldn't shake the feeling of humiliation. Then, a few days later, I found out that the cheating man had sent a message to my sister, telling her that his wife had found out about the affair and confronted him, leading to a huge fight. Apparently, the woman had found my sister's Instagram and sent her a series of angry messages, demanding that she stay away from her family. Instead of backing down, my sister engaged with the woman, further escalating the drama. She shared the chat with me, where she had clearly provoked the woman, encouraging her to confront her. It was infuriating. Did she really think she could toy with someone's emotions without facing consequences? As I reflected on everything, I knew I had to stay firm in my resolve. My sister had to understand that her actions had repercussions, not just for herself, but for those around her. I had to confront her again, but this time with a renewed sense of purpose. It was time for her to take responsibility and recognize the chaos her decisions had caused, not just in her life, but in mine as well. I decided to message my sister, hoping for some semblance of honesty or accountability. But she basically ignored me, likely trying to avoid the stress of facing her actions. Deep down, she knew she'd messed up, and the mounting comments from others claiming she wasn't to blame began to cloud my judgment. I started to believe it, too, until I saw the messages she sent to that woman. They were almost begging for a confrontation, a beating even. In that moment, all sympathy evaporated. She was no good person, she never had been. I was furious, but my mother was even more enraged. It wasn't the first time my sister's reckless choices had negatively impacted our family. While this time we didn't lose money or friends, I was physically attacked because of her. I'm single. I have no responsibility for anyone's marriage. My sister justified herself when we confronted her, but my mother shot back. We all suffer because of your problematic behavior. Morally, you're helping ruin the lives of others because of your ego. The situation escalated quickly, culminating in my sister throwing one of her infamous tantrums. This time, however, my father had enough. He kicked her out, her belongings hastily packed and handed to her. As she stormed out, she lashed out, even blaming me for looking like her. It was sad to see my own parents apologizing for their adult daughter's behavior. At the end of the day, my heart ached for the chaos she had caused, not just for me, but for everyone around her. The woman who attacked me reached out the next day, expressing genuine remorse. She said she'd cover any medical expenses, but I assured her I was fine. Without her friends fueling her anger, she sounded calmer. "I've never done anything like that before," she confessed, her tone sincere. "But your sister?" The way she spoke about her relationship with my kids. It drove me to madness. While I appreciated her remorse, a part of me still wished she'd taken my sister down a peg or two. It wasn't a nice thought, but I couldn't help it. The days passed with little change. My sister didn't reach out, and honestly, I prayed my parents wouldn't initiate contact with her, hoping to minimize my encounters with her. At 28, she should know better, yet it seemed she was determined to play the same childish games. Her pursuit of wealth and gifts from married men showed her true colors. She was a gold digger, always had been. I remembered how, even as kids, she had a knack for squeezing the last drops out of anyone willing to give her something. I recalled how I had been attacked before because of her lies. One instance stood out. She had tried to get her boyfriend to run me over with his car. If two friends hadn't been with me that night, I might have ended up in the hospital or worse. There was also the time she sent him into my room to confront me after I had just stepped out of the shower, still wrapped in a towel. I had to fight him off while trying to keep myself covered. It was insane how everyone dismissed it because he was a rich doctor's son. Then there were the rumors. She spread lies about me throughout our town, making it impossible for me to step outside without someone attacking me verbally or otherwise. My reputation lay in ruins. In response, I blocked my sister from my life entirely. Her presence only brought chaos. "You need to do the same as soon as you can," I told my friends, sharing my experiences. "Move far away from her." I had relocated to another country, and I felt lighter, happier. The weight of her lies had caught up to her, and she was an outcast now. No one wanted anything to do with her anymore, especially not after everything she'd done. Now, she was stuck with a narcissist who took advantage of her. Unfortunately, he was the only one left willing to put up with her, and she was obligated to remain in contact with us. The hundreds of relatives who lived nearby wouldn't even acknowledge her anymore after her treatment of me and them. "Your sister is heading down the same path," I advised my friends. "Telling her to change won't do anything. She'll spiral out of control until she hits rock bottom. She might listen then, or like my sister, she probably won't, and just keep destroying her life." I urged them to be far away when that happened, not wanting them to get caught in her web of chaos. I genuinely expected my parents to take her aside and give her another chance, but I was relieved they didn't. She deserved to be kicked to the curb. I hoped they wouldn't let her return. My sister had pushed us all to our limits, and while she might not be entirely morally bankrupt, she was certainly working hard to get there. Through it all, I focused on healing. I hoped life would return to some semblance of normalcy for me, free from the fallout of my sister's mistakes. But the final straw came when I had a conversation with my parents about my younger brother. He had moved back in with us after a stint at an Airbnb. Initially, I was happy to have my own space, my own bathroom, and a sense of peace. But soon after, my brother's messy habits invaded my sanctuary. He was, to put it simply, disgusting. My once pristine bathroom devolved into a pigsty. I was furious I had put so much effort into maintaining a clean space for myself. I eventually had to threaten him with eviction if he didn't clean it. Yet my mother was oblivious to his mess. When we started noticing gnats buzzing around the houses, we couldn't figure out the source. After some investigation, it turned out they were breeding in my brother's filth. When I confronted my mom about it, she absurdly claimed my dried eucalyptus was the cause. I couldn't believe it. "You can't be serious," I exclaimed, shocked. "It can't be the flowers, they were fine before he moved in." My mother stormed out, calling me psychotic. I felt defeated. After a long argument, she finally had a talk with him, demanding he clean up. It took all of 2 minutes for her to get mad at me again, while my brother received minimal punishment for his messy habits. Never again, I vowed. I would find my own place again and not look back. Living with my family, especially with my sister's antics and my brother's habits, had become unbearable. I shared my frustrations online, hoping for support and validation. The top comments echoed my thoughts. "Move out and let them have each other. You'll be happier without the chaos." And they were right. I couldn't let their mess become my problem any longer. I would save up and make a plan to escape. I had already done it once before. There was no reason I couldn't do it again. After all, I deserved a peaceful home, free from the toxicity they brought into my life. The realization was liberating, and I felt empowered as I plotted my escape. I was ready to reclaim my life, away from the chaos, once and for all.